on this end. A couple of our folks are out at conferences today and in the field. I know Sri looks like he's online as well. Quick meeting today, I think. A couple of topics, giving you a shipping update, anti-gaming, talk about scammers going on, 70/30 pools. There'll be no BeeHive next week. And then we can do some Q&A. So we've shipped over 60% of the flowers. We ran behind a little bit last week on the manufacturing. I think we stepped things up substantially over the weekend, and we should be able to get everything out in the next couple of days. We've had a manufacturing issue on the circuit board for the Bumblebee when we got back from the manufacturer, so we're working with them on doing another fix for that. We don't have an ETA on when those will ship. We hope that to be soon. We also have the App Store submitted for approval, round 2 with Apple. So we think that the Honeybee iOS app will be out soon and be able to scale out. So thanks for everybody who's been providing feedback and testing that. That's super helpful. So in terms of anti-gaming, the max hex per flower is implemented. I think it is looking pretty good. I'm curious if you have feedback on that. We are still seeing some other gaming that we're in a process of working out both algorithms and a process for addressing that. We have a dedicated person full-time looking at all the logs so we can start flagging the behavior that we think could be gaming and helping achieve that. We're going to post that into the Discord so people can get views on what is or isn't, potentially gaming. Next up is scammers. So many thanks to folks that brought this up to our attention. There's a new channel in Discord I want to call your attention to, which is called Report Scammers and Cheaters. We've had 2 reports that I want to bring your attention to so you don't get scammed and we can hopefully tamp this down. The first one is someone selling an eSIM that they don't really have the associated NFT for, and vice versa. And we think the scam there is happening where somebody will sell the setup and then send you the NFT, but then never send you the eSIM, and then they'll separately sell the SIM to somebody else and collect twice for the device there and leave 2 people hanging. Not cool. And so we're trying to figure out how to help with that. Someone is also selling BBs that have been banned because of validation and anti-swarming rules. And so we need to make it easier for people to see which BBs are banned so that you don't end up for that. Right now, if you've been victim of that scam, let us know and maybe we can work something out for you. We'd love for you guys to use the Discord channel to report more people because we want to minimize the cheating there. So next up is the 70/30 pools. Sure, you looks like you're on. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the 70/30 pools, basically we were seeing situations where the flower earnings were going below 70% of the total share of PCN. And so we're going to institute basically a floor, so it can't go below 70%. If it goes above 70%, we're going to leave it be, so the flowers can always earn more, but we're going to prevent them from earning less than 70%. And we're going to do that starting probably Tuesday or Wednesday.
Excellent. Do you have an idea in terms of how much the bees will get knocked down, on the earnings from this change?
Yeah, it'll depend daily based on the share, but I think right now we're sitting at something like 65%. So let me do some math real quick.
Yeah, so it's 35 divided by 30.
Yep. So they'll take a 15% decrease or a 14% decrease in their earnings.
Not go to the flowers. Okay, that's awesome. So, yeah, and you think that's going to be live on tomorrow or Wednesday?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be either live, probably tomorrow. Yeah, definitely tomorrow.
Okay, awesome. All right. So, we're working on other stuff, but next week, due to holidays and probably lack of content, we'll skip the BeeHive weekly, and we're actually probably going to change it to BeeHive biweekly to keep it worthwhile and go from there. With that, does anybody have any questions? Yes, Anders. All right, awesome. I think you're there. You can just talk. Oh, no.
Sorry about that. It locked me up. Yeah, that is the question regarding, you mentioned swarming in band, right? So if we have like a couple of, bumblebees, I have two of them. So I run I run a validation with ones, and then I don't use the other one, and I run a validation with the other one. So I mean, I understand if I would run them at the same time, it's not going to make me anything extra, right? But what is this ban? How does that work? And what is how does that kick in? I don't understand that part. I haven't read up about that part.
I can take this one if that's okay.
Cool.
Go ahead.
Sure.
So we aren't explicitly banning anyone based on algorithms. There was behavior that we saw that we like rooted out early on that we saw that was definitely cheating. That was definitely a type of spoofing. And the only option that we had at that moment was to turn the bees off altogether. So that is kind of the ban list, and there's only like I think 7 or 8 bees left on that list right now. But we don't really plan on doing that in the future, or we don't want to, unless the community is open to it and they have feedback on doing specific ban lists. To clarify the point that you were making, Anders, the swarming logic does not ban anybody algorithmically. The swarming logic will only basically take a percentage off of your earnings based on how many of the bees are swarming, but it will never ban you outright and prevent you from earning in the future if you trigger the swarming logic.
Yeah, because it's not under your control. You run with one and two other guys or girls doing it at the same time. So, okay, I just want to have
Yeah, I
clarification.
misspoke
Thank
on
you.
that. Sorry.
Thanks.
Great. Any other questions? All right. I think we're going to end up early then. Oscar, you want to add anything? Oh, here we go. Question.
I have another question if no one has questions.
Yeah, go ahead. Ask.
When is the next drop?
We don't know. We want to make the next drop where we have all the hardware before it ships, so we can deploy right away. We're not quite there yet. It's weeks, not months, but it's not happening from us right away. So we really want to get these out. We have a couple process improvements that we want to implement in house so we can really get a smoother way of deploying. And there's some improvements that we're making that we want to get out before we do that. So I think it's a couple weeks out at least.
Cool. And we also saw some tweets and stuff, and everybody's kind of saw some more powerful, base cells in the background. Are you guys testing, higher wattage units as
Yeah,
well?
so we have a Yeah, we want to try. There's a couple other things happening that's going to be adding higher power and different frequencies uh, for other users, and so that would be part of what's coming out. So the goal is to be able to support every radio that's out there and properly characterize the range and performance of each, so that you have a really good menu to choose from in terms of like indoor units from other vendors and even outdoor units from other vendors as well. I think you're talking about the 846 that we've been testing and deploying at a bunch of spots. So that's a more powerful. There's a limit on the CBRS band in certain areas that you don't want to. That one steps a little bit over those limits. So there's a configurations you need to do to make it apply. We said this last time, but I think there's going to be probably an increase in the CBRS power limits coming at some point, and so that might be a good way to future-proof the deployments there. Or if you're in a really remote area, that might be something that works for you separately. So we might we've kind of never sold the Acacia, and we've had the Acacia kind of as a first one. I think that will take reshape with the form of the 846, and that's not. I would say it's not finished yet. We've been doing a bunch of testing with them, but once that's solid, I think we can deploy that and go from there.
Oh, thank you. That's exciting. And by the way, people are building their own Acacias. I think I see one in Oakland, and I see in LA too, with 4 sectors and 2 radios and stuff. So it's kind of out there already.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's kind of the right setup. It was just difficult to build one thing that can be shipped and be deployed to many people that way. So
Thanks.
Awesome. Casamigo.
Questions coming in through the chat, so I'll be sure to grab
yeah.
after reflect. But we can answer these first, and we can move to the chat questions.
Great idea.
Guys, I had a quick question about swarming to follow up on what Anders was saying. I have to drive around. I mean, when I'm driving around, I generally have 2 bumblebees with me, and I noticed that sometimes when I disconnect from like getting service, that some of them take a lot longer to reconnect, and I have to power cycle them, which takes 5 minutes, and so I just wanted to follow up on, is there a time cutoff for the swarming to kind of happen? Like if there's a 15-second overlap, or is there some type of standard that you guys are kind of counting?
Sure, that one's for you.
Yep. Yeah. So there is a standard. We said that, I mean, we gave a range for that, but we are not specifying the numbers because we do want to prevent people from gaming that number. But basically, if you have the devices operating in the same region for greater than the range is from 60 to 80% of the time at the same time, then you will see the swarming logic kick in. I know that's kind of vague. 60 to 80% is kind of vague, but again, we didn't want to publicize the number because we feel that if we do, people will use that information to basically subvert the logic. So that's why we're remaining silent on the actual threshold, but it's also a randomized threshold. So every day it gets picked between that range, but there's a distribution behind that randomization as well.
Cool. And are we going to get any type of information on time requirements for validation? Like if there was something that could be put in the ledger to kind of show, to give us an idea of how long that we need to stay in that hex?
Yeah, Oscar, you know that, right? The question was how long do they need to stay in a hex to be able to validate? So if you're driving around and you have it attached to the hex, how long do you need to stay in that?
I would say between 2 5 minutes, max 5 to get the whole upload.
No, not about the whole cycle. I think like, how do you know that you get a full validation? I think 5 minutes is way too long.
No, if you're mining,
If you get one attach, like say you're going 100 miles an hour and you happen to like do an attach, get the next one, get the next one, right? So there's a specific amount of like how many seconds being attached in the hex
so you can
qualifies to be able to like help on the other signals.
maybe
No, no, okay. 1 per second is the thing. So but you require multiple attaches for or multiple recording of that now. And then how long does that connectivity check take? That was like 5 seconds. No.
you recheck takes about
To do the bandwidth test and the ping. And that's not the real.
I have a hard time to hear what's that. I don't know if other people have a.
So checking.
Get closer to the microphone. Yeah.
So once the mining light is blinking, we have registered that you have attached successfully to a pollen network. So the only important part is that you have enough time to upload your information to the server. Because you might have a fleeting connection, like you had it for like 3 seconds, but that's not enough time for you to actually send over the information over the.
But so you get 3 seconds. Okay, so there's two components here. One is like, how do you properly validate that it was an attach and you did the speed check of the hex? And the second piece is once you're back within range of the network, can you upload all of the valid attaches and logs that you collected that day? And those could be done at each of the sites, or they could be done once at the end of the day, whenever, and the end of the day is midnight UTC, yeah.
So if you have sporadic connections that are less than 5 seconds, you still have the chance to upload the information at the end of the day if you have a solid connection.
Yeah, but you still do there's some time. It's like, it's not like 100 milliseconds. Like you do ping and you validate uplink, downlink, signal quality and everything else on that. So it's not like,
Yeah, but
is 3 seconds enough, you think?
if you see the mining light, good, basically.
So the mining light means that you've already done that. So you could it could take longer than 3 seconds to attach, but
Step by step, all the information is parallel to use, right? It's not like one check and zero. Basically, you have several streams of information coming in, then you just average that.
okay. And once all the streams are checked, that's when the mining light does go on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have different checks, yeah, different streams that you're checking. What thing you're connected to? Do you have internet? Yes.
So once the mining lights blinked, you're good to move on to the next hex, provided that you spend enough time in a hex of coverage to push all the logs up at some point. Yeah. Does that make sense?
That's basically the most critical part. Is like, is there enough time and connection quality to upload the logs to the server? So that's why I recommend, like, if you at the end of the day, once you've done your Bumblebee driving around, plug it back home to make sure we upload all the negative coverage information, also the positive coverage information. Does that make sense? Any questions?
Yeah, so what you're saying is that pretty much if we see all of the 5 lights on and we're getting like a constant stream on the mining for, I mean, if you're saying 5 to 10 seconds, as long as we get back to more solid coverage near the buttercup or whatever it is, and that information uploads, then all of those hexes that we were in for that small period of time should be validated.
Can you repeat the question? Sorry, we lost audio for a quick second here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you. Sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so I was saying, what you're saying is a solid, all 5 lights are on, we're getting the mining light blinking. As long as we get closer, like if, say, we were on fringe coverage on the outside, as long as we get coverage, as long as we go back closer to the flower, and that data and information is, uploaded with kind of higher signal strength, then all of those outside fringe coverage hexes that we might have been in will count.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, and to Oscar's point, the same is true for pollen drops. So if you guys are trying to do pollen drops with your bumblebees, make sure your bumblebee comes back and visits a place with coverage so that you can upload the pollen drop logs as well. Because if you are dropping pollen with a bumblebee, that necessarily means you don't have coverage there. So you need to come back to a zone with coverage so you can upload those logs and get credit for it.
No. Sorry, Tree. So if you see the pollen drop counter go up, that actually means that that data got over to the server. There's no.
I'm saying on the bumblebee, not on the honeybee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the honeybee, the counter is when it's been acknowledged
Yeah.
and received.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I confused it with the honeybee.
More questions, Colton.
Hey, Anthony.
How's it going?
Yeah, pretty good. How are you?
Awesome.
Good. Hey, liked the new podcast, the Delphi Digital one. I thought it was really well done. I was just wondering, is there any new media we can look forward to in the future, near future?
I don't think right away. I think the next would be an update from Christian on some of the business updates that we have been cooking up. We want to do more highlights of individuals with their flowers and see how they're using them and what they're finding from them. And then the next one will be a deeper upgrade on the phone validation piece, because we think that's going to be not completely replacing the bumblebees, but being a big upgrade to the network.
That'd be great.
Cool. Casamigo, do you have another question? No, Andrews, you were going to ask something and then.
No, I think it was just like, I think it was some side question on this. I had no idea with this with this that if you had like a fringe, because I have one freaking hex that it's so hard, and sometimes I lose it. But what you're saying there, if I'm there for more than 10 seconds, it could be 30 seconds, and then I lose it, and then I go home, then it does, and I turn it off, and I leave it the whole day after midnight UTC, I would not get credit. But if I just plugged it in at home where I have my flower, I would have gotten that hex. I had no idea. So I'm that was just a reflection, but that's good knowledge to know.
I think you have a grace period after midnight UTC for getting the logs in.
Correct. Yeah. So then, so in California time, basically it's 5 p.m. the cutoff for where you drove. But then you have between midnight and until the logs are the payouts go out, so you can upload your information. So there's like a grace period that we allow for you to actually get back home, plug it in at night before the rewards run. So I think you're safe if you plug in your Bumblebee before midnight California.
Oh, so you have a full 6-hour-ish grace period before I fix it. Okay.
You want to make it flexible so people have time.
Here's a follow-up question, actually, because I probably didn't need to worry about. I have two bumblebees, right? So like I take a route, in the morning I do one, and in the evening I do the other one, but then I normally don't run them at home, even if I validated all my 7 hexes, both of them, in different times of the day, right? And then I take them home. I could safely plug them in, both of them, to make sure that they upload everything. And I mean, it's not going to be a swarming then because they're running, they already validated, right?
Correct.
Okay, cool. All right, I'll do that from now on, man.
Yeah, you'll have a better chance of getting both, at least the second one to have its full uploaded.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
When are we getting a pollen bumblebee drone mount so we can fly around the city?
It's already
I
been
saw
done.
some cool pictures from the from some community members doing something like that. They kind of opened it up and attached it to the inside of or the bottom side of
That's cool.
That's a very cool one. Very nicely done, I think.
Yeah, so I think that's it. I don't want to keep you guys longer. If you have any more questions, we'll skip next week and we'll see you the week after. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.